the best recording setup is not the one that gets the best sound, it's the one that gets the best performance. And that's the core idea behind what is now my approach to drum recording and the reason why I put together my current recording rig, which I'm going to be sharing with you today. You will find that my rig is not necessarily the simplest or the most streamlined, but it's the one that gives the best results. And because of this, I'm going to begin this video, rather than showing you what or how, I'm going to be telling you why. Why should you go through the trouble of putting together a good recording rig that makes you comfortable, that makes you inspired at the time that you're recording? And then, with that understanding in mind, I'm gonna show you my electric drum recording rig and how I operate it. Here in the channel, I already produced and shared with you a video exposing different ways to use an electric drum kit to record yourself. And you can find it somewhere around the screen. And the experience that I got out of testing those different methods showed me one very important thing about recording. Your performance, your drum recording is gonna be as good as your monitoring. And for those of you who are just now being introduced to the concept of monitoring, monitoring basically refers to what you're listening to while you record. And the way that I design my rig and workflow is prioritizing getting the best possible monitoring. And there are two very important sides to monitoring. One is sound itself, getting a great sound quality, the best possible, both in the backing tracks, what you're playing to, and also the sound of your drums as well. And number two, when it comes to monitoring, minimizing latency as much as possible. We'll get to that later. For now, let's focus on point one, sound. Let's picture two hypothetical scenarios. On scenario number one, you're listening to a fantastic raw version of the song that you're about to record. Well put together, getting a proper mix, properly balanced. You even got a little bit more bass so you can work a little bit better alongside the bass line. You're already getting the real feel of the song. You're hearing everything exactly the way you want it. On top of that, you're playing to a drum sound that you designed on your drum module specifically for this track. It fits perfectly, and outside of that, it sounds really good. You love that sound. That's scenario number one, okay? Let's think now of hypothetical scenario number two. Let's say you're recording just using as a backing track a very sketchy recording of a bare bones version of the guitar, just to give you a general sense of the structure of the song. The only actual thing you have to follow is the click track. And the drum sound that you're using is just that, a drum sound. Not necessarily correlating much with the sound of the music. Now tell me, on which scenario do you think you would be able to perform better? This just goes to illustrate the point that what we do as musicians is inspiration based. We shouldn't spare any expenses when it comes to trying to make yourself the most comfortable and the most inspired possible at the moment of recording. And when it comes to that, getting the best possible backing tracks, the best possible sound for you to be playing to is what's gonna allow you to actually feel the music, to feel comfortable, to feel inspired while you're playing and deliver the best possible performance. Now, getting into more practical terms for this, take the time to produce a good backing track or good backing tracks. Have the song properly recorded, properly put together even before you get to the recording process. It doesn't need to be perfect, it's not the final version of the song, of course you're still gonna be recording it, but it should be good enough for you to have a very good general idea of the song and especially have the right feel of the song. The song should already feel right, even if it's not perfect. That way, when you're recording, you're already gonna be vibing to it, and that's gonna translate into an excellent performance. And also, put a little bit of effort into designing a drum sound. These tools, electric drum kits, are excellent for this. You can go super deep into the module, effects, drum sizes, mix and match in between different drum kits, and get something that suits the song that you're gonna be playing to, and that you love, a sound that you feel truly inspired to play to it. All of this is for the moment of playing to feel better. The better you feel while you're recording, the better your performance in your recording is gonna be. Now, getting to the other side of great monitoring, which is avoiding or minimizing latency. And latency basically stands for the time it takes for a sound being produced for it to be heard by you, all right, in very simple terms. And the first thing to understand about this is that latency will always be a thing. There will always be some form of latency. Because even when playing an acoustic drum kit, when you hit the snare, the sound produced by that hit is gonna take fractions of a second to reach your ears. Of course, that latency is basically neglectable, but it is still there. But when it comes to recording or monitoring a sound coming from an electric drum kit, from the module, into an interface, into a computer, and then from the computer, in a software, out into the interface, back into your monitors, then depending on how you set things up, you can actually have very problematic latency. It can go as bad as having a very noticeable delay, a very noticeable gap in between your hit and what you hear, or it can be a lot more subtle, but not necessarily less problematic. Even a little bit of latency, to a degree where it's barely noticeable, can already be extremely impactful negatively on your performance, because it's not gonna feel right. And once again, the better it feels when you're playing, the better your performance. And latency can play a very huge role on that. With this in mind, it's time to bring digital audio workstations into the conversation, also known as DAWs. DAWs are basically the type of software that you use to manipulate audio, to work with sound. And it would most commonly be used alongside an audio interface, a device that allows you to bring audio from the real world into your computer, converting analog audio into digital audio, and then back from your computer into the real world, converting it back from digital to analog. Now coming back to the topic of latency, but on more practical terms. When you're dealing with a digital audio workstation, there is something called a setting called buffer size, which basically dictates how much audio data is being processed at once. If you set your project in your digital audio workstation to a low buffer size, let's say 64, that's gonna have a more demanding impact on your CPU, but that's gonna diminish the latency in your project. Or if you go the other way around, you go for a higher buffer size, let's say 124. That's gonna lower the CPU usage, allowing you to operate other things, let's say virtual instruments and other effects and plugins, but that's gonna increase the latency. Don't worry too much about the numbers now, because actually that can get a little bit complex. But just know that for recording, you want to go for a lower latency. So if you stick to 128, you should be fine for most scenarios. Still on the topic of latency, there's something that I do and I recommend, which is monitoring through the input of the interface rather than the output. Because in practical terms, basically that means reducing the path of the sound before it reaches your ear. Because normally it would go like from your drum module into the interface, from the interface into the software, from the software back into the interface, and then back into your monitors. Depending on your gear, most interfaces nowadays would be able to offer this kind of a functionality. You would be able to monitor the input, and the path of the sound would basically be from the module into the interface, and then from the interface into your monitors, bypassing those conversions into and out of the software, making the path shorter and minimizing the latency. How much of a big deal would that be? How much of a difference would that be? Being very honest, not huge. But once again, the idea here is getting the lowest possible latency so you can have the best possible feel of the performance to deliver the best performance possible. And this is the way to do it. Alright, now that we understand what to look for in a recording rig, it's time that I share mine with you. And know that my setup, even though it's not the simplest, is not inaccessible at all. Actually, the digital audio workstation that I use, and I do recommend it quite a lot, is free. So let's start there. So welcome to Luna, the digital audio workstation made by Universal Audio. Luna will allow us to receive audio and MIDI information from the drum kit, more on that later, control our backing tracks and metronome, plus host or virtual instrument. A virtual instrument is a digital recreation of a musical instrument. For example here, Context 7 can be used as a virtual drum kit. And the reason I'm using this rather than simply recording the audio from my module is very simple: multi-output. My drum module only has 2 outputs, and what that means is that if I record it, at the end what I'll have is a single stereo file containing the sounds of the whole kit. And that's not what I want. What I want is independent files containing the sounds of different parts of the kit, so that later the mixing engineer can mix my drums freely. He would have the freedom to compress the kick, apply EQs to the toms, add reverb to the snare, so on and so forth. He wouldn't be able to do any of that if I just recorded the output of my module, because all of those sounds would be summed together into a single audio file. Alright, now that we understand this, we can start hooking things up. You already know of the software I'm going to be using. Now we need a way to connect my drum kit into that software, and there's where an audio interface comes in. The interface I'm using is the Tascam US1608. This interface is a very commonplace one. It's not Chinese crap, but it's far from high-end. And it does allow me to monitor its input, the thing I talked about earlier. Now that we can receive information from the module, we need to create the tracks that we will be using in Luna. So let's do it. I'll need an audio track for the audio coming from the electric drum module. I'll need an instrument track where later I'll host my virtual instrument and record the MIDI information from my performance, another instrument track for my metronome, more on that later, plus another audio track or audio tracks ideally for my backing tracks. We will skip the metronome track for now and come back for it later. The MIDI information from my drums is coming through TD17 MIDI channel 10. So there you go. And the sound of my drums is coming through inputs 9 and 10 of my interface. There's still one track that we haven't addressed yet, the metronome one. And that's because I'm gonna use that one for my secret weapon when it comes to recording. I'm gonna be using it for a metronome, but not any metronome. Recording through a metronome is highly recommended, and it's basically a standard practice when it comes to any serious recording. But it does come with a very bad downside. Remember when I said that the sound that you're getting through your monitors should be the most inspiring possible? Well, a click piercing your ears is not necessarily inspiring, and even get in the way of certain frequencies that can mask your drum playing or other elements of the backing track. But there is a great solution to this issue that comes in the form of the Sound Brenner. This is a metronome, but instead of making sound, it vibrates. So it's the perfect solution to this problem, because you can wear it and you'll be able to follow the tempo of the song through the vibrations, knowing that you're on the beat while keeping your sound monitoring click-free. It's perfect. And if you want to see exactly how to hook up your Sound Brenner into your digital audio workstation to be able to do this that I'm telling you, well, we already produced a video and have it on the channel explaining exactly how to do that. And the link for it is gonna be somewhere in the description of the video. And also, if you don't have your Sound Brenner yet, I highly recommend that you go for one, because they truly are the best way to keep tempo as a musician, because it's way more about the feel and the groove than just following a click. Every single time that I play using a metronome, using the Sound Brenner rather than the click, I feel that my performance flows better, because the click is kinda, I don't know, it's kinda stiff. You're always pursuing the click. While when you're using a Sound Brenner, you feel the tempo, and that shows in the performance quite a lot. So yeah, if you decide to go for one, here's a link that's gonna give you a discount at the time of purchase, and if you buy it through this link, you're also helping this channel. Now that everything is properly hooked up, it's finally time to record. So just select and arm the channel receiving the audio and the one receiving the MIDI and press rec. Or better yet, in Luna, you can do this. Hey Luna, record. Alright, now that you have your audio and MIDI recording, you have to load a virtual instrument to your MIDI track, which will be triggered by your recorded performance. You will need to tweak it to taste following the reference audio track that you recorded from your electric drum kit. And voila, that's my rig and workflow when it comes to recording using an electric drum kit. So yeah, if you got something out of this video, please leave a like. YouTube loves when you leave a like. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, that way you can be notified of more videos like this being produced. And also follow us on social media such as Instagram and X. And join us on Discord as well, the link is in the description, and we can keep the conversation going over there. With that said, there's only one thing left, which is never let anybody tell you what to dream about. And remember that I'll see you when I see you.